All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are going to give everyone a minute to hop in and then we will get started. Okay, we had a few more people hop in, so we can go ahead and get into it as more people join in. Um, so welcome to all of you. Some of you, I think, have joined us 3 months straight. So we have been doing a webinar series starting in June through hoping to continue to do them monthly to really highlight and pull out the way that data can enhance the M&A process. And so in June, we talked about exit prep. So we talked about due diligence in June, and we talked about exit prep in July. And those are two big pieces. And then this month, we're going to talk about a more holistic picture. So we're going to zoom out a little bit and talk about data in the whole M&A process and optimal outcomes for both buyers and sellers. So that's what you're here for. And this is a little bit of the overview, and very similar to what we've shared before. We really believe, and we've seen firsthand, that data can accelerate the entire M&A process, all the way from an owner thinking about selling a company 5 years before they're ready to do so, all the way through post-transaction integration. And so we're going to kind of highlight some different places that we see data being most valuable throughout that whole process. And so we're going to talk a lot about outcomes for both the buyers and the sellers. We're going to talk about a few different case studies, and I'll use that term loosely because we're not going to go as deep as we've done in previous webinars, but we're going to just talk about some examples, ways that we've really seen data enhance the outcomes for buying and selling. We'll talk about our approach and some takeaways, and then of course, we will do Q&A at the end. So please put your questions in the chat. A little bit about us. If you are new to our webinars or to ever hearing about InfoFluency, we exist to make business data useful and meaningful. And we work specifically with middle market executive teams. We are really passionate about giving those teams access to and making their data visual so that they can actually use it to make decisions. And through that, we do that through interactive dashboards. And specifically in the M&A ecosystem, we have found ourselves here because many of our clients are in some phase of the exit journey, and we have found that the work with their data has just boosted their outcomes, whether looking to acquire or to sell. All right, we are going to introduce ourselves, and Robin, I will let you start.
Oh, thanks, Alyssa. I'm Robin Sturgis. I founded InfoFluency, almost 20 years ago now, and I find myself at this stage of our company's life focusing on operations and ensuring that we're thriving and that we're giving absolutely exceptional service to our clients. And it's just a joy to be here, and I appreciate all of you guys' time, and so glad you joined us.
And I'm Alyssa McGinn. I joined InfoFluency, I guess it's been 3 years now. And my role today is very focused on vision, growth, and how we can better serve our clients and grow the business.
Hello, I'm Carrie Eggleston. I have had the pleasure of working with InfoFluency for a little over a year now, have been absolutely blown away by the longevity of our client base and just the incredible insights we're able to deliver. So my focus is helping to find new people and new businesses that we can provide those same insights and unlock new ones as well. So that's me, and I would be remiss without mentioning our incredible services team, including project managers, our lead analysts, support analysts, special contractors, and of course, our partners. So who's with us? We would love to get a little bit, get to know you a little bit better and allow for some in-chat networking if that's something that's interesting to you. So if you could comment in the Q&A section what your maybe your name and your title if you so choose, and company if you so choose, but definitely what is your role in the M&A ecosystem, since that is our topic for the day.
Yeah, please feel free to connect with one another. And, you know, we want to be a platform for learning about data, but also for, you know, you guys to connect with each other and network and build relationships. And so please feel free to do that. So a little bit of an overview of what we're going to get into today. So specifically, business data impacting M&A, and we're going to focus on these three outcomes: valuation enhancement, attracting and informing buyers, and then really shifting our perspective to see data as an asset in the companies that we are transacting with or owning ourselves. And so we're going to dive into some stories and some examples for these three outcomes.
Great. Thanks, Alyssa. So I'm going to walk us through, like Alyssa mentioned, some case studies. And to just kind of set the stage a bit, in past webinars, we have talked about data in the due diligence process, and as well as in sell side exit prep. And today, you know, we're really focusing on those exit outcomes that data can impact. And I want to give a bit of a definition. So when we talk about data in the context that we're talking about today, we mean business data. We're talking about things like a company's sales transactions. We're talking about inventory records, product descriptors, prices, customer demographics, maybe resource assignments, or if you're a service-based business, the hours that your people put in. Physical asset attributes, marketing lists, campaign performance, website visits, employee profiles. So I think you get it, but I mention all of that because we are talking very specifically about leveraging and utilizing the data that businesses are already collecting in these systems that they're using to run their businesses. So all of this data is pretty significantly underutilized in most companies. However, it has the power to drive incredible growth, efficiency, strategy, decision-making, and not only that, but to communicate to stakeholders what that company's situation and strengths are. So I lay that groundwork, and from there, would love to get into this and give you kind of a big picture of what we're talking about here in exit outcomes. So if you effectively utilize data in an organization as you prepare and go to market to sell, outcomes are impacted significantly in three ways: in valuation enhancement, in attracting and informing buyers, and in viewing data as an asset. So let's jump into each one of these three and get into our case studies. So in terms of valuation enhancement, so data can drive valuation in a number of ways, but the way that I want to focus primarily on today is in revenue growth. So we all know that revenue enhances that top line, that enhances the bottom line, and consequently drives an increased valuation. So in our case study today, we're going to talk about something that is called RFM analysis. This is one example of a way that data can drive the revenue that can in turn drive the valuation. So RFM analysis is a look at companies' customers and their purchasing. RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. And this analysis is built on very simple data. It's those sales records, that order purchasing history of the customer base. And it gives such insight into that customer base and their purchasing that it's a great tool to grow that revenue. So this is a picture of the RFM dashboard. And I'm going to jump into this in an interactive format so that you guys can really see this in action. So bear with me while I stop my share and jump over to a different screen for you. And I'm going to assume that you are now seeing this RFM in interactive form. So this analysis breaks up the customer base into segments according to their purchasing history to show how loyal they are, all the way down in the segment line to lost. And these segments can be used by a sales team to retain, to enhance the sales of particular customers, and to really put into action an account-based marketing strategy. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but I do want to just give you a sense for how this works. So let's look at the potential loyalists. These are the customers that are recent. They've spent a good amount and they've bought more than once. They together are spending, in this example, about $20 million collectively. There are 12 customers that attribute or that comprise this potential loyalist segment. And then as we hover, you see we have additional information that explains their scoring kind of on recency, frequency, and monetary value. You can get into lots and lots of detail on this, but I show you this because it is such a strong tool to enhance revenue that then can enhance valuation. So it's a great example, but it also helps you perhaps to picture the way that we approach analytics, which is to offer dashboards that are in this form that are broadly applicable and we have pre-built. So we can plug in business data directly into this product and produce this very quickly for someone. Now, that's not to say that we don't do custom work as well, because we do, but this is a great example of something that's just a very quick time to value and is very easily translated into results quickly. So I'll just briefly pop across here to just show that in the potential loyalist category, you can hover and see who these individual clients are. A sales team can go and nurture those specific accounts, grow that revenue, grow that valuation. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and jump back to our presentation. And in the meantime, just say that if you are particularly interested in this and you didn't see as much detail as you would like, give us a shout. We're happy to demo this for you in greater detail one-on-one. All right, back to our case studies here. I'd like to pause for a second while we're on the topic of RFM analysis and let Alyssa tell us a little bit about a special offer that we're building into this webinar today.
Yeah, so typically we would wait till the end to share our offer, but because we are showcasing this specific analysis and this is the offer that we're giving, we thought, let's plug it in here so that it can be correlated to what you guys just saw. So we are offering anyone who's attended this webinar a complimentary RFM analysis. And as mentioned, this is something we've built. This is something that with exported sales transaction data we can plug into and turn this around. So if there's a client that you're working with, or even a prospect, maybe even to enhance closing a deal, this could be something that you use on their behalf as well. And so we'll go into more info after the Q&A.
Great. Thanks, Alyssa. All right, our second of the three ways that we really see data impacting exit outcomes is in attracting and informing buyers. So we know that data tells a compelling story and can validate and bring legitimacy to an overall company story that a seller is sharing with the market. So in addition to supporting that compelling story, data proactively answers buyers' questions. And buyers, have varied questions, but many buyers have similar questions that can be proactively answered in that data room by proactively presenting really great data that sellers know buyers will be asking. In addition to that, data really equips buyers with the information that they're seeking in a form that they can then manipulate and use to seek the answers to maybe their more in-depth questions that they want to learn about that company to help them decide if they are going to move forward with that LOI process or not. So a bit of a case study for this element of increasing outcomes here. So well-presented data in a format like what we're showing here, which is a one-page kind of snapshot report that we've created specifically for M&A due diligence. The idea here is that we take the seller's sales information and put it in this format that can be put in the data room, can be shared with that market, with those buyers, to proactively answer their questions specific to revenue and customer base. So buyers perceive a risk in concentration of the customer base, for instance. So buyers want to know that their potential purchase company is not overly dependent on one or two customers. So that's and maybe overweighted in the number of products that they sell as well. So what we're showing here in this report is things that buyer can use to evaluate the interest of that acquisition. So we're looking at things like the product rankings. We're ranking the customers and showing the top 10 customers. And we're showing for the whole customer base, how much revenue does that top 10 contribute? So in this case, only 21% of the revenue is contributed by that top 10, which means their revenue is very diversified across a big customer base. And that's important information for those buyers to know. We're also giving some metrics here like the average order revenue or the customer count and revenue trend. And these are things that at a glance, a buyer would really appreciate and benefit from knowing. So my point in summary here is that well-presented data is a proactive way to interest and inform buyers. So that's a great advantage for the seller, but it's also an advantage for the buyer who receives great information and has their time spent in due diligence sped up because they aren't struggling to get the information that they need for a good decision. All right, the third of our three ways that data can impact exit outcomes is that data itself truly is an asset. Not everybody views it that way. So that's something that we see on an increasing basis is that buyers are looking at technology broadly and data as a part of that as an asset. And attributing valuation, both in increasing ways or through discounts, according to what they're seeing in the data and the tech stack. So it's our strong opinion that good data is a value increasing asset and that it suggests several things. good data tells the seller, tells the buyer that a seller is data-driven, that their technology is current and produces accurate information, that the company is mature and organized and proactive and prioritizes operational excellence. It tells them that the seller understands that data is an asset and that seller expects the buyer to value it. And I will mention as well that poor data is the converse. Poor data tells the buyer the inverse of everything I've just said, that the technology is perhaps dated. It suggests discounts because that tech stack might have to be overhauled. It suggests that the seller undervalues their assets or is their data asset or is perhaps not data-driven in their decision-making. So with that, I'll just share a brief case study on this point. So in a situation with this case study involves a private equity purchase of 5 portfolio companies. They are integrating the data and the technology across all 5 of those companies to create an entity that they will then take to market in 3 to 5 years. So that well-integrated data and that tech stack that they're building, they view as a very significant asset when they go back to market with this company. And that view of this data asset is something that will drive their revenue growth in the meantime as they prepare this company and do the integration work, as well as increase operational efficiency and bring them a valuation at a multiple that will deliver that ROI that the PE firm is looking for. Right, Alyssa, I will hand it back over to you for our key takeaways.
So I'm going to just kind of reiterate some of the main points here. One thing that I really wanted to call out was in the second point, the attracting buyers. I added reducing intensity and length of due diligence, just because, as you highlighted, there's a proactive nature that gives confidence to buyers that they don't feel like they need to dig to find the thing that's wrong. And I know that it's a broadly accepted idea that due diligence is not getting any easier, but getting more intense. And I think arguably a lot of times that's because companies don't have, a ready put together set of analytics to say, here you go, this is everything. I think there's other components probably such as AI and the rise of technology that is impacting that as well. But I think there's a big argument to be made for the reduction of intensity and due diligence that I think most people say that sellers are not prepared for that intensity that's to come. So, as well as enhancing valuation through revenue growth and really having the asset of data that if you do want to go back to market or grow a company and sell it, there's a real asset in the data that the company has. So not to continue to beat a dead horse, hopefully these are some key takeaways that we learned from those case studies.
I'm happy to cover our approach. At InfoFluency, we really believe that transforming business data into a meaningful format is core for a company, and it's the main service that we provide to our clients. So what that looks like is that we help our clients extract that value in their business data by gathering the data from all of their different business applications, like their CRM, where they track their customer information, their financial reporting software, perhaps something like spreadsheets or reports that they have in PDF form. So we're gathering data from all of these different places and preparing that, organizing it, and consolidating it in a way that is really ready for analytics. And we can generate dashboards, analysis, and reporting from that data and present it in a way that is on demand. It's interactive. It's very visual. Think back to what I showed you with this RFM analysis in interactive form. That's the method in which we're delivering our clients' data back to them so that they can gain a lot of understanding and depth of insight from that consolidated data that came from all of their disparate systems spread across their organization.
Okay, everyone, we have time for some Q&A. Feel free to drop your questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat, either one. And while I give everyone a minute, I don't see any existing questions. I'll go ahead and kick us off with a question for Robin. So something that is really important to highlight and is a really good takeaway as well is the ability to have iterative byproducts of efforts such as these, right? Once you've got the data into the system, it's really easy, kind of like Legos, to kind of make additional use cases or glean additional insights. So Robin, can you speak to that, but also the value of, someone who's maybe on the fence and saying, oh, well, I might buy or I might sell, but I'm not certain. So I really don't want to go through all this effort until I'm sure, because usually by that point, it's a little late in the game to start these efforts. But talk about the value and the deliverables, if you will, and additional use cases for a process like this or an undertaking that would serve you regardless of whether you ended up buying or selling.
Mm-hmm. I'll focus on the data-driven decision making that is enabled for a company and for an executive team in that scenario. So even if you don't ever sell, or if you go to market but you don't end up with a successful transaction, the effective use of data in any degree, whether or not you're just putting your toe in the water or whether or not you use that data extensively across your organization, you will see benefit. And so a lot of our customers start with something bite-sized. I'll give an example. We might start with sales data that equips the sales organization, like something that I showed you today. And we will seek to have a quick win for our clients in that regard. And then we build from there. So then we might step into using their operational data to drive efficiencies. We might use data to help them make a geographical expansion decision into, what market, what city is next for them. We might use data to affect their proper hiring and recruiting, their headcount balancing. And so my point is, we'll start with one area of the business and grow from there so that it's all phased. And for most of our clients, that's a very attractive approach to starting small, but then also enhancing the scope of the ways that data can impact their organization.
Can I add something, Carrie?
Yes, please.
Okay, I was just thinking of a question that someone asked in the June webinar, which was, how many reports can come from, the export of the financial data, I think is what he asked. And I jokingly responded, like, the sky's the limit. But I really think that you touched on the iterative approach, that once there's a move to become more data driven and the data is analytics ready, really is the sky's the limit. There's almost no question that can't be answered. And there's almost no, creative solution that can be found with analytics and reporting. And so I just wanted to add that in, that it really is kind of taking that first step to get the data clean and ready to be visualized, that from there, you can do almost anything.
Absolutely. I'll echo that. The limit almost does not exist, right? So that's a great call out. So we've got a question in the chat here from Brad Grew of Digital Meld. He says, how do you ensure data quality and consistency when dealing with multiple companies during an acquisition?
Mm, that's a great question. So we lean heavily on exception reporting. So we do, in almost all of our engagements, we do an initial data quality assessment and we identify those areas where there are potential data issues. And then we use exception reporting. What I mean by that is dashboards that call out where there's a data issue. And then we equip our clients to then address those data issues on their own. And that's iterative and that stays current so that all along they're keeping their data clean. It is a significant concern. And if you address it well, it increases the confidence in the clients that their data is actually trustworthy. So it's a very important thing to address.
Excellent. Thank you. We've actually got another question from Brad. He says, how do you measure the success of an M&A deal from a data perspective post-transaction?
I can take that.
Go for it.
I saw it in the chat and I've been thinking. I think when we look at clients that we've helped, a success for us is like what we talked about today, is a lot more about the outcomes. And three things come to mind for me, two on the sell side, one on the buy side. So on the sell side, how quickly did the company sell? It's like, were they able to move through that process quickly because they had everything that they needed? They were equipped with the data and the information to move through LOI and due diligence and closing negotiations quickly. I think speed, isn't always indicative of success, but I think it's a when it's quick, it's a good indication that they were prepared. I think also, what they can sell for, what the multiple they could sell for is a good measure of success. We talk a lot about enhancing valuation, and that starts all the way from, as they're prepping and growing revenue to have a higher valuation to just being perceived as equipped and proactive. So I think, what the company is able to exit for is a good indication of success. And then I think on the buy side, the word that came to mind for me was alignment. And I think what I mean by that is that the buyers were equipped with the information that they needed, that they could make an aligned buying decision. And so if that's an acquisition into an existing company or multiple acquisitions, are they the right targets? Did they buy the right companies? Are those aligned with either the private equity's goals or the existing entity's desires for growth? And if they have the data that they need to quickly evaluate that, then that's a success for us, to equip them to make an aligned decision.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are some great points. We have another question. How can data analytics help in identifying potential risks during the due diligence process? So, Robin, do you want to unpack that a little further?
Yes, I will share a client story to answer that. So we have worked with an entity that came to us early in their exit prep process, and they had a particular concern that the market would perceive risk in them being overweighted in a certain industry as far as their customer base was concerned. They felt like the market would perceive negatively that they were selling maybe too heavily into oil and gas. And they thought that that would be a risk, that the market would discount the value that they were willing to buy for. And so what we set out to do for them was to prove that wrong. And we were able to assign industry to all of their 8,000 clients and to show that they actually have a very diversified industry base in their customers. And they were able to take that proof to market and mitigate that risk very proactively, and not even allow the market to to ask the question or perceive that risk in the first place.
Excellent. We really appreciate the questions. Feel free to continue dropping them in the chat. If we didn't get to it today, we will reach out in our follow-up and make sure that we answer any questions. If it's not evident yet, this is an area that's especially near and dear to our hearts and to the firm, and we have a lot of industry experience in this realm. Happy to chat through that further as well. But let's get to the offer.
Yes, so we're going to circle back to the offer that we mentioned in the middle. That was a little, what do they call it, intermission. But I want to reiterate the offer now that we've gone through the whole webinar. We showed the RFM analysis, which is just one specific type of analysis that we have built out into a template that we can plug data into really easily. And so what we're offering is a complimentary RFM report. So what that would look like is that you, or on behalf of a client, would provide the raw sales transaction data, and we would return that report that you saw to you. And so this offer is good for everyone that was on this call and that registered for this webinar. And we're going to do this through September 15th. So we have a few weeks. And we will include more information about this in the follow-up email. And so if you want to, even if you just want to learn more about it or talk more to us about it, scan this QR code. This gives you a form that allows you to schedule a really brief call. I think it's like 15 minutes to chat with us. We can do a live interactive demo of this specific dashboard, or even others if you're interested. And so we hope that this would be like a quick turnaround, nothing too arduous or strenuous on your part. And we hope that there's a quick time to value. And so please scan this QR code, even if you're slightly interested or you have a client that might potentially benefit from this. And this is something that I wanted to highlight because we've had a few people, which is fair, ask us like, what all do you guys do in terms, like, I get data, but like specifically, what are the services offered here? And so I'm going to just highlight a few things really quickly. The revenue analytics for due diligence. So that's specifically that snapshot that we showed today during the due diligence portion. So that is a service that we offer. We offer those in a bundled way. So you can buy one off, you can buy a pack of 5 or 10, and you can use those over the course of time with clients as they're going through either a buying or selling process. We also offer fractional analyst services, just as every other fractional, basically placing an analyst to kind of fulfill analyst responsibilities on a fractional basis. We also do full implementation of data analytics, complete from ingestion to visualization. And then, as also mentioned, we have a plethora of pre-built dashboards that's easily plugged into. So we have a whole suite of revenue dashboards, profitability, the RFM analysis, customer-based segmentation, a lot of different pre-built dashboards that offers an easier on-ramp so that custom can be cost prohibitive sometimes. And so pre-built offers an easier way to get started. But we also do full custom builds and implementations as well. So those are a highlight of our services, and we will be coming back. We'll be doing monthly webinars for the remainder of the year. And the next one will be on September 17th. And so you'll be looking out for a registration link for that. And we hope to see you there. We really appreciate all of you guys staying with us for 45 minutes. And as always, please feel free to reach out. And we will be getting those resources out to you, hopefully no later than tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.